All right, let's get started, everyone. As people filter in, there was some issue with the Twitter Spaces timing. It was at 3, but it's supposed to be at 2 o'clock my time. But we have sorted that out, and we're here. We're here with Brennan today. We're going to be discussing basically all things Myria. I mean, you've probably heard me talk about this from time to time over the last, probably I think it's been a year, almost a year now, and really good to have Brendan Duhamel. I think I'm saying it right. The head of blockchain at Myria. We're gonna go over what is Myria's blockchain, what are they working on, what games are they working on, what are the past games that they worked with, and basically get to know and understand the ecosystem as well from how to operate a node, how to become a node operator, and so much more. And mainly, what we're here for is to hear the updates of what's coming. So if you're someone who's been in this ecosystem, whether following or a pre-sale investor, not really a pre-sale investor, but buying the NFT to operate a node, yeah, it's basically here. These guys did not have a pre-sale. They did not have a private sale. They did not have seed investors. This was launched, and the only way to get tokens was running an operating node. So we're going to talk about that whole entire ecosystem today, and we're going to get to know everything a lot better. And yeah, let's get started. So I just like to welcome Brendan here. Maybe just to give people a good understanding of like who you are and what you've done. Maybe give a little background in terms of what you've done before and what kind of brought you into the blockchain ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, a couple things right off the bat. First of all, thank you very much for having me. Very happy to talk a little bit about what we're up to. Second thing is, I think you got my last name right. Although I'm in France at the moment, and they say my last name differently, and so it's a bit of an existential moment. In fact, when I think I'm saying my last name wrong. But Duhamel, Brendan, I'm the co-founder and head of blockchain at Miria, and I've been in crypto now for just north of a decade. So before I discovered crypto, way back when I was but 15, and by the way, I'm en route to Singapore for another conference. So if there's a lot of background noise, just shout, and I'll try to move somewhere more quiet. But was 15, I was interested in a couple of things. I was interested in the stock market, and I was interested in sort of political philosophy generally. And it was around that time that I discovered Bitcoin, and it was the sort of perfect confluence of those things. And I knew right away that blockchain technology in some form or another was going to have the potential to change our lives. I certainly didn't know at that stage it would take the form of what it's become with gaming specifically, and I'm really excited that it's come this far. But I started in Bitcoin. I co-founded an accelerator-backed Bitcoin startup in those early days when that was the only game in town. And then, as I said, I've been in the crypto industry since then. And despite the setbacks, I really do still think we're in an amazing point of progress here for the industry, and I hope the world at large if we do our jobs correctly.
Yeah, awesome. It's good to hear about what you've been working on and where you're coming from and your background. So I guess a lot of people, I ask this a lot of projects, and they give me a long, confusing answer. So I usually ask projects, kind of give me like a basic overview of what Myria is. Kind of just the basics of what is Myria, why did you start it, and what's the point behind why you started it, and all the benefits for the users.
Yeah, of course. So I think the simplest way to describe Myria in a few words is to say that we're a company created by gamers. That's very important because, of course, we're crypto people. Also, we're software people as well. We're business people. We're all of those things also. But at the core of it, we're passionate gamers. And so we founded Myria with the idea to bring blockchain gaming to the masses. We've been working hard now on that goal for over a year, and we're really beginning to see some of the fruits of that labor, and really excited about that. I think that in a couple more years, a few more years of hard work, we'll reap more, and Myria will, in my estimation, be a massive Web3 gaming ecosystem with thousands of games built on it. And I'll talk more, I'm sure, at some stage of this chat about what building on Myria means, but it means a lot of things. But I want blockchain gaming to be accessible to everyone, and I think that that's the core benefit that Myria is bringing, is making it accessible to everyone by making it accessible and easy to use for developers, as well as through the games that we're developing ourselves. So we're laser focused on producing quality games that will always be free to play, and as well as eliminating the barrier of entry for other gaming projects out there to build their own awesome experiences.
Right on. So I guess, I know the team has a really, really strong background in terms of working in Rockstar Games and other large gaming studios and companies and C-level positions. So if you didn't know that, and you're listening, yeah, their team is definitely a Rockstar team. It's probably one of the reasons why I was very interested in Myria at the start, because there's a lot of people saying they can do gaming, and make blockchain games. And I mean, we've all seen the results of that. It looks like we're going back to Nintendo or Sega Genesis level graphics and gaming experiences. But these guys know how to build games, and I think that's really important, because I really want to know, Myria has a flagship game. MetaRush is following in its closed demo in March. What other games are you guys introducing to the ecosystem? And basically, what is Myria Studios doing to help those games, come into the ecosystem and make it easier for them to, give it to the masses, to all of us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, two things. I can answer that question in two ways. So, first and foremost, we have our own dedicated marketplace and L2 wallet with high speed zero gas transactions and free NFT minting. And then, so that's a good start. But then, of course, if we just had that, as a lot of people out here know, it's not so easy to deal with even base layer chains. It becomes even more complicated when maybe you have to learn a language like Cairo or something like that. So when you have to deal with the complexities of an L2 sort of at the metal, it's even more difficult. So on top of our L2 and marketplace, we've also built a software development kit that you can use in much the same way that as a developer you would use a software development kit to interact with any other API that's out there on the market. Something from AWS, an API to interact with Netflix. Every developer out there knows how to integrate with an API, and so they know how to use our software development kit as well. So those are the two major things that I would say is helping drive other games coming onto Myria. And I should also like to mention here that that's no small number. We have as of right now over 270 partner studios that are actively building very, very high quality blockchain games and dApps generally on top of the Myria stack. I think maybe there was more to your question also. So if you want to repeat the earlier parts of it, I'm happy to try to get at it. But specifically about what we're doing for helping other projects get involved, that's the core of it. An L2 and a really robust set of software development kits.
Yeah, awesome. I was just asking about the flagship game, and what people can expect from that, because obviously, people are going to look at Myria and they're going to look at a gaming ecosystem. They're going to want to know what they get out of it and what's the benefit for them being a part of that ecosystem. So I guess it's just really good to kind of explain, what is that selling point for the users, and what are the games that are going to come out? What are they going to feel like and look like? In terms of what does MetaRush feel like? Obviously, there's there's already been one game, I believe, was similar to Farmville, that you guys launched as well. But are those the types of games you're going for, more mobile, or are you guys going to go for full on PC, or is it just a plethora of everything for everyone?
Yeah, I know the latter answer can sometimes feel like we're not trying to address something specifically, but it's hard to say that we're not going through a plethora, really in our case, because our API is as flexible and reusable as it is. And so, yeah, you mentioned Moonville. That's sort of very mobile focused, of course, or mobile like. And then our flagship, which you asked about there, is of course MetaRush. It's in only early alpha at the moment, but that didn't stop us from. I'm sure a lot of people maybe already know this, but we've already had a gameplay demo with members of the community, influencers, gaming guilds, and some of our partners. We had even the European Fall Guys champion from 2022, Gecko. So this was the first time that MetaRush was introduced to the general public, and the feedback has been really helpful. But I think that's a really is very emblematic MetaRush of sort of the feel that you can expect, both Myria studio games and our partner games to be like, which is genuine high quality games that are fun to play first and foremost. So since the playtest, we've already made a number of new improvements on that MetaRush title, including collision physics and also new character designs and additions to the maps, etc. And so we're really putting a lot of effort into the gameplay itself, and so I mean I don't want to judge the quality of the game itself. But I'm a bit biased, I would say, but I think genuinely we are trying to get some titles out there that are really competing in terms of quality with some of the best games out there. So we want to be AAA. We want the games to be fun to play, and then we want the blockchain to be a nice benefit of an already fun to play game. So that's true for our games, and we expect it to be true for many of the projects that will be building with us as well.
Yeah, right on. So let's just kind of switch tone a bit and talk a little bit about, because we talk about the games. I think some people know that there's a Hall of Fame cricket player, Ab de Villiers, I think his last name is, and he's building his own game. Obviously, he may not know everything about how to build your own game and certain things like that maybe a seasoned gamer would. How are you guys supporting him? And tell us a little bit about this game. So, and what you guys expect from it. Because obviously cricket's massive, maybe not in some countries, but it has a huge following in pretty much the most populated country in the world, in India. You also see it in Australia, New Zealand, and many other countries around the world. So what are you guys expecting from that? How are you helping him build this game, the mobile game on Myria? And, why did he choose you guys over, the other guys like Gala and etc.?
Yeah, really good questions. So a brief story about the fact that yes, you're right. Cricket is huge outside of just the U.S. I hadn't heard of A.B. de Villiers. You said it exactly right before I had the chance to talk to him. But as soon as I spoke to him, we clicked, and it was clear we were going to do something pretty impressive together. He's a legend, and not just in cricket. I think. Well, let me say a few words about sort of what he's building first, because he was planning on building this sort of regardless of what platform he ended up choosing. So I'll say a few words about that, and then about why us specifically. So the name of the game that we're developing with AB is 360 Cricket. So it'll be a mobile arcade cricket game following his sort of personal and professional journey. So it'll have a story mode with different locations that have sort of played important parts in his life. And then for the competitive gamers out there, it will also have a PvP mode, and of course, true to our motif here is the game will be free to play. So we talked about the game back in late February, and some of the teasers are already out. So AB is excited, and we are also. I think a big part of the reason that AB went with us is because AB decided to go with us even before a lot of what we currently have out there that makes it genuinely easy for a developer to pick it up and work with. I think he, going back to your comments about how you got interested in us because of our team, I think it was a very similar story for him. A couple of conversations with our leadership, and I think he had a sense that we were going to be there. We weren't going to flake on him, halfway through the project and leave him with his arms up in the air. And we knew what we were doing, and we were going to be able to produce a quality game with him because obviously, he's not a gaming professional himself, and so he really wanted to be able to put his trust in people that have done this before. And I do think that was a huge part of it. And now that he has seen what we've built since then and what we've released publicly, he has his own team that's obviously helping produce the game, and they've been really excited by both our tech itself. It's easy to use. It's something that they're familiar with, etc. But also the level of support I think they can attest to has also been above par, and they're really excited to work with us for that as well.
That sounds great, man. It's just good for people to know that they can come to you guys and have all the tools that they basically need to make it easy for them. Because most developers generally are stuck in how and what they develop, and if it's quite easy, that might actually onboard them a lot faster so that they can get started. So, and obviously, you have the thought process behind everything as well, in terms of how to think of building a game, because you guys have done it before, and your whole team knows what to think about. It's kind of like me when I'm going into a private sale or helping as an advisor. When you make a lot of mistakes as you're going up, you learn how not to make them and how to teach other people not to. So I really like that. So now let's switch to the tech side. I know you're more on the blockchain side anyways. It's more your thing. I know you're a gamer as well, but you're head of blockchain. So obviously we should focus a little bit on that. This won't be boring. This is basically going to tell you as the listener how to get involved with the ecosystem to earn Myria tokens and validate the network. So, kind of give us a basic understanding of what Myria nodes are and how do they tie into the whole ecosystem that you guys have created.
Yes, very happy to talk about this. As you say, also a gamer, but this is my bread and butter. So Myria nodes are the backbone for Myria's decentralized ecosystem. That is to say that we knew before we did anything, once we had made the decision that we wanted to have our own dedicated L2 specifically for gaming, we knew that there would be a lot of decentralization and decentralized compute required. And so it was for that purpose that we decided to just have a dedicated network rather than going out and sort of trying to acquire with different incentive schemes each time we needed some different decentralized capacity for oracles or for governance voting or for or for any other or even for eventually the sort of confirmation of transactions directly on the network. For any of those functions, we wanted a dedicated network available. So we have that now. Node owners that operate their nodes are awarded with daily Myria tokens. The amount of tokens is the same per day. That means that for each individual node, the number of Myria nodes they get is higher if there are fewer nodes running. So the idea here is to incentivize everyone with a node to run it and better protect our network by doing so. As long as a node operator runs their nodes for a minimum of 6 hours a day, it's fairly standard stuff. They're eligible for the rewards. And then aside from the daily Myria rewards, we're planning on having sort of more exclusive features, NFT drops or other ideas that we're very keen to hear from the community about that will be accessible only by these node operators. So yeah, from a technical perspective, it makes sure that we always have the decentralized compute that we need. And it also, with the rewards, is a really good way for people to genuinely join the community and get involved, even if they're not a game developer themselves.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm a node operator. I bought a bunch of nodes and I have them all running on a couple servers and switching on and off every 6 hours. So, people may think this is quite difficult, and for some ecosystems, I know for a fact that it's very difficult. But actually, as someone who's really not on the tech side of the crypto space, I'm more on the marketing, promotion, trading specifically, and investing. I thought this was going to be extremely difficult. So just to give you guys, like, if you're not technical people, it's really not that hard to set up. So something really good to know before you even listen to the next section is this is something that's not going to be impossible, and they do have guides to help you. But if you want to be a node operator, there's node licenses, obviously. I think there's still some left. I'm not too sure, but I know you have thousands and thousands of nodes operating. If someone wanted to get involved the same way I have, run a node, what do they actually need? Is there a lot of software? I'll ask you the question that you answered, even though I know. What does someone need to run a node? Like, can they just use their laptop computer and run a node off that if it's open 6 hours a day?
Yes, absolutely they can, and this is the nice thing about because I've done projects in the past where it's all technical people, which is great sometimes until you try to put a technical product out to the public, and then you remember after you put the product out there that not the whole world is technical. So this was really nice to have the collaboration with our team with some non-technical people that are really good about games and but less technical, and so we made the process really easy, genuinely for even the least technical among us. So you said it exactly. What do you need? You need a license, first of all. So if you have some Myria tokens, then you can visit the Myria website and buy a license from there. And then once that license is purchased, you just have to download the Myria software and run it from your device. So if you meet the minimum hardware requirements, you can do that directly on your laptop, as you say. And then if you don't, if you need a little bit of extra compute, we also have guides to get a virtual private server on a cloud provider set up. And it's a few additional clicks, but it's really quite simple. Don't let virtual private server sort of scary sounding technical language scare you away from that. It is quite simple. And then once you're able to set that up, it'll be consistently working in the background. And as I said, you earn Myria rewards on a daily basis with no further action required. So I'm glad to hear from you that you found the process simple. That warms my heart as someone who worked on trying to do exactly that. So feedback would be great. So if any of you on the line go through the process, feel free to get in touch with us. But yeah, we think it's pretty simple.
I mean, the guides are pretty straightforward. If you can read and follow instructions and build something from IKEA, you pretty much can do to run a node operator.
build something from IKEA. That's I like that comparison.
It's like just following instructions, right, piece by piece. Yeah. And, if you have problems, obviously there's the groups there to help you. But I felt it very much like that. Like, just follow the instructions, and then my friends helped. Obviously, I'm not smart when it comes to the tech side, but it was really like they told me it was trial and error, some issues that would pop up, but you'd always have the group to go ask. So it's not a big daunting task, I would say. It's something that will teach you how to do something new as well. So it's pretty good. So while we're still on the operator nodes, right now you guys have a referral program for people who are in the existing node owners. How does that work? What do they do to refer people? How does that referral work? Is it like a ref link shill on an exchange? So kind of give an understanding of what that is and how it works.
Yeah, timely. This is brand new. It's something we just recently launched, and it's designed to continue the single goal we had for the node network in the first place, was to really continue to make this decentralized compute power genuinely robust, so that we can grow the network with the network of games, and what we're really trying to do on the network with confidence. So with the referral program, we've introduced a way for node owners to invite their friends to come buy a node license and join the Myria network. And then, of course, this would entitle them to a referral bonus in Myria tokens, and give them that added boost in accumulating Myria. So anyone who is currently a node license owner, or who will become one after they've heard this call, can do so by following just a couple of steps. They visit the Myria node dashboard, as they'll be familiar with if they're a node owner. They copy the referral code and they share it with friends and family. And then once somebody comes along and purchases a node using that referral code, then that referral bonus is all yours. So again, quite straightforward, but we do think it will be genuinely useful in continuing what we've already seen great traction on in terms of building something robust here.
That's awesome. All right, so not too much longer, guys. So just hang on with us. We're going to give you some alpha, but what's come at the end. So, we're talking about the token. Everyone has tokens. Most tokens have no use case. They don't really make a lot of sense. I mean, I'm very vocal about this with that because I feel like a lot of the time they don't make any sense in that. I'm pretty much telling off like 95% of the projects because I'm like, this is pointless. There's no point in it. So I guess maybe you can give a good understanding about how the token is used throughout the ecosystem and, why do you need a token and how is it used as a real utility in your platform?
Yeah, so I think the why is probably, even before I start rattling off sort of the specific areas it will be used in. The why was important and easy for us in our case, in fact, because we have our own L2, our own dedicated L2 built on top of Ethereum. We need a token at very least to pay protocol fees. We haven't implemented those yet. Everything's been completely free at the moment, but of course we want to be a self functioning business, and so once we turn protocol fees on, which we've been very transparent, we will do at some stage. Then those will be paid in Myria. Of course, it's not gas fees. It's exclusive for NFT purchases, or it's involved in the trading that happens in the platform. But it will also be used for governance and staking, exclusive NFT purchases, and Myria node purchases. Myria node purchases can only be done in Myria. So now I'm at the rattling off stage. But really, this is just sort of the initial utility of the token. As more projects come on board, and this is a big part for us, is that Myria is the token for our dedicated L2, which of course, as I said, means the protocol fees, but it also means that any project that comes and builds on our L2 will certainly be using that token in ways that in fact we can't anticipate even now, because it will be their own sort of creative limits, which will form those ideas. The utility is expected to grow even further and provide added value once governance and staking kick in. So the idea is to distribute Myria to selected game development partners, node operators, and other participants in the ecosystem. And we think this will create a really nice economy between users and partners and everybody else involved, and ultimately accelerates ecosystem growth, which is always what we're about.
That's it, man. Using a utility of a token, using a token in an ecosystem. Gaming, it makes the most sense. I've been saying this for years, that gaming will bring the masses into crypto. It will teach the kids how to use wallets and everything without really feeling like they're using one. And then when you give them the option as they get older to use crypto, they're already going to understand it because they're basically going to be using it like at the current moment. They're already probably using it for some of their games. So I think that's really important for like the long-term growth of our whole ecosystem, because everyone always asks, where are these new buyers? Where are the new people going to come from? And I think it's just utility, people creating products everyone wants to use, and then things become much, much more easy for the rest of us, because you can tell your friends, hey, just try this, and the kid will get it right away. And for our parents, hopefully we get something else for them. So the last question I have is, how are you planning to boost your support for partner gaming studios to build on the network? Are there ways that you guys are going to, really help these guys, whether it's, they have a great idea, a good team, don't have capital, they don't really know how to create a game, but they have capital to create one. So kind of just where and how are you guys going to support these people in their pursuit to build?
Yeah, so another very timely question, and you'll realize how timely quite soon. So fans of what we're doing should definitely keep their eyes peeled, because without giving too much of the surprise away, there's a massive boost to our software development kit, which I spoke about earlier, which will make it yet easier. We anticipate for people to come and use the technology. So that's on the development front itself. We can expect some of that. That is imminent. And then on the sort of general support, we're open to supporting projects, especially high quality projects in every way that these projects need support. So come and talk to us, and normally, and this is why we have 270 plus projects working with us now, is because we've grown quickly, but we're still a startup, and because of that, I think we've maintained our ability to be quite flexible about how we support these projects. So if that's go to market, if that's sort of product development or that sort of thing, then we can help with that as well. So there's a lot. Come get in touch with us, and we can talk about that. So, but I do want to make another point about the developer side of things, which is developers can expect a brand new portal to actually self-serve and make it easier to sign off on transactions. So I know I said I wouldn't give away too much of the surprise, but I couldn't hold back. I wanted to at least give a little bit more. So a self-serve portal is going to make things a lot easier for developers, but even people that have project ideas that maybe even aren't developers. Even this idea of an API is a lot for them. So a self-serve portal is going to make a big difference.
That sounds awesome. I mean, that's pretty much why a lot of people don't use other ecosystems. Like, there's not enough. Like, I mean, for example, from my own personal experience, I'm an advisor to Gunzilla, and there wasn't really anything there for them to use. So for their game, they were like, well, no one's doing it. So they built their own layer 2, built all the tools they need for the game, and basically went that route and built a subnet on AVAX, right? So I think that is definitely addressing a problem. Now they want to maybe also help projects as well with the tooling, but it's maybe different than what you guys are doing. But at the same time, like, this is what's needed. It can't be too much to learn to create a game, because it's already hard enough to do so. If you want to create a AAA game, you need the ecosystem so that it's plug and play, that it's not like a daunting task. Otherwise, you're just not going to do it, because gaming already works. It's not broken yet. There are things that blockchain improve with gaming, but I don't think it's completely broken. People still play games all over the world every single day: men, women, children, elderly, young, etc. So I think that's something that's really exciting. And how could Myria, if someone was creating a game or has the blockchain game, is listening, how can you help them, like, right now if they want to get started?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned only briefly there the sort of product development cycle. So sort of even if you're at the stage of I have an idea for a game, because we've done this, I can't even imagine the number of times that overall we've done this. If you counted up all the times that we've gone through this process as a team, it's a big number. And so I think the point is that even if you're really early, still come talk to us, and we can support even the ideation. There's also an upcoming project which we'll be launching very soon. That is a program specifically designed to support up and coming projects, and we'll be announcing that soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that also. But definitely, even design of the initial game and everything else, we can aid with. So definitely get in touch about that.
That's awesome. So I'll leave the floor open for a few minutes. If people have any questions that would ask Les Brennan, that would be wonderful. Click on that little mic on and request, and we can bring in some questions from some of the community if anyone has any. But I think this was a really good overview. It really broke down everything that Myria is doing and where the plan is to go. And I think what will make you guys more excited over time is going to be the fact that, you know, they're going to start building games that you really want to play. And it's going to have this ecosystem where, you know, Rockstar, anyone else can come in and build a blockchain game or even integrate a blockchain into the games they already have. I don't know if you guys have heard, but GTA 6 is apparently going to earn you real money. I think that's crypto is what they're talking about. So that's something that I find really interesting. So we got a couple questions. I think it's, what is it, Madhu? So let's get Madhu in here, and I'll add you on the speaker, and you can ask your question, and we'll get to Sir next. And so you're mute, so click on the mic and you can ask.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brandon. Hi, I'm from India. So I have some basic doubts regarding about the comparison between the Immutable X and Myria, because currently the IMX is also developing the same thing as Myria, like they are also having their own layer 2, which is working on Ethereum. And recently they introduced one more product called the Passport, where we can instantly log into all the games which are developed on the ecosystem. And one more thing is, I have so much of doubts regarding about tokenomics. How exactly the Myria tokenomics is working now? Because in coin market cap only, we are seeing the circulation supply is around 1.5 billion coins, and the total supply is 50 billion. So I need a clarity about the tokenomics of Myria, and and is this my questions? Yes.
Well, both both very good questions, and well, thanks for listening. And I'll tackle both one at a time. So as for the Immutable X comparison, I should say first of all that we're really happy with what Immutable X has done for the market, and so I'm actually not. I don't think that's a bad thing that we're compared to them. They've driven the industry a long way, and we like to think that we're pushing the envelope, but we're also learning from some of the best projects out there, of course. I think one really key difference with Immutable, though, is that when Immutable launched their L2, granted, we were something like 10 months later than them, and so we had sort of even more time to make a good decision about what exactly we wanted to focus on. But when Immutable launched, they were NFT scaling generally. And then, of course, they've transitioned to being more game focused. But we think the fact that we came from gaming and had only gaming in mind from the beginning, have stuck only with gaming, has helped, not only in sort of just in sort of like a theoretical way that we are gamers and okay, that's great, we can talk about game stuff, but our partners want to talk about game stuff, but also from the standpoint that if you work with our SDK as a game developer, I think you'll notice very distinct differences between even sort of simple things about how the SDK is dealt with and how calls are made and how language is used and everything else will look a lot more like a game SDK that you're used to using as a game developer, not as a developer generally, but as a game developer. And we think game development is specific enough that that really does make a difference. Those small things add up, and a developer that has a much easier time interacting with an SDK is going to benefit from that. So I hope that clarifies a little bit on the Immutable side. As for the tokenomics, So we've been very upfront about our release schedule since the beginning. So you can check out our white paper for the specific release schedule, but we have an ecosystem fund set up. We have project development. We have strategic reserve, and of course node emissions. I might be missing one or two because I'm doing that off the top of my head, but exactly where the tokens are going was very well thought out and is very clearly defined. So I wouldn't worry too much about that large total supply because it's being released on a schedule that we work with economists to figure out is quite beneficial and should make for a robust ecosystem for the long term. So definitely check out the white paper if you have specific questions about sort of why we made decisions about certain parts of the tokenomics, but we do think we did a good job with the ideas, but also being clear about it. So yeah, so let me just add one more thing there, which is to say that we also strive to combat dilution by letting our partners bring more value into the ecosystem and make the token more utilized, as I said, as collections on the marketplace grow with the game. So that will be a big part of it as well. Is that sort of right now, of course, it's just Myria and some of the initial early stage projects that have gone live, but as these 270 plus come online, then the token utilization really starts to heat up that way also. But both very good questions, and I hope I did some justice in answering them.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Madhu. So we'll go on to Sir Love, and then we got Constant. I can't see the whole name, and then Alex. So we'll get you guys next. Just get Sir Love in here, ask his question or her question. There you go. Sir, you're there. Should be able to speak now. Seems there must be some microphone trouble. What I'll do is I'll put you back on mute, and then if you have a chance after the next question, unless you can speak right now. Yeah, we can't hear you, Sir Love. All right, so I'll put you on mute. We'll get another question in, and let's try you again. So Konstantinos, let's bring you in here, and you can ask your question. We can.
Okay. I have to admit that I'm a big fan of Miria, Brendan, and you, Coach K. So happy to hear you today. I would like to ask Brendan, does Miria have any future plans to implement a decentralized exchange on your platform in the future in order users will be able to exchange Myria token or other token from the ecosystem games in order to be easy for users to exchange their tokens from ecosystem projects, games? That's my questions. Thank you.
Yeah, very good question, and happy to have a fan here. Really glad you decided to listen in. So the short answer is yes, that's definitely on our roadmap. I can't speak to sort of how big a priority it is yet because we know there's a lot we need to do for partners to get into the meat of game development first and foremost. Then of course once there are a large number of projects live, then the centralized exchange aspect becomes even more important. But absolutely, the need to acquire tokens is especially as games launch their own token, they're not obviously going to be using exclusively Myria tokens. The ability to acquire those tokens without having to go back to L1 and pay the gas fees down there is obviously crucial. So I don't want to speak to timelines, but it's definitely something that we talk about regularly as a company, and definitely a lot on the blockchain side of the house and the product Sort of as and when that demand starts to become more tangible, we'll put a timeline around it. But it is definitely something that we want to allow for at some stage. Yeah, great question.
Excited to hear that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks,
No, not at all.
Constantinos. Let's we'll move you in. We got a couple more questions. Let's try. Sir left, so if he comes back, we'll get him back. But Alex, let's get you on, and you can ask your question as well. All right. Alex is just connecting, and if there's no more speakers, we'll keep this as well. Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we can hear
perfectly.
you.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. I don't know. Is your sound on? Hello.
Hello.
I wonder maybe if is there a way you can you do a message? I don't know space as well. Can you do a message and say just shoot your question off? We can hear you. I don't know.
Yeah,
a text message.
From the group there. So I removed him from speaker, and maybe he can come back if he can hear us. I don't know why he can't, but yeah. If there's anyone else that has questions, let us know. But if not, we'll probably wrap up here. I think that was good information for everyone, and we don't want to go too long. We don't respect everyone's time and so on. So I don't see anyone coming back. So yeah, Brennan, thank you so much for coming on today. Oh, we have one more question there.
Amazing. Yes, always
all right,
absolutely.
I guess it's Ali Dodge. Let's add you in, and you can ask, and we'll get you asking your question there, sir or ma'am.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Yeah, so I work at a Web3 incubator in Korea, and we're partnered with like a lot of gaming companies within Korea. Obviously, gaming is a big market here. And one thing that constantly comes up is maintaining the games. Like we've seen with Gala, and I don't want to like throw shade at Gala, but like, Spider Tanks comes live, their tokenomics is like a mess. And it kind of ruins the reputation of Gala. No other games want to come on. And so there's...
Oh, no.
Hello?
You dropped for unless you were finished.
Oh, yeah, like you said that there's over like 200 gaming companies that are planning to deploy. And just like... how is there like any plans to like maintain the stability of those games as well as the platform, or is it just like, yeah, you can deploy here, you can make your game, if it works, it doesn't, and how are you going to incentivize game developers to keep working on their games? Because a lot of games can like deploy, if it doesn't go well, they kind of drop it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really, really good question. So there are a couple of ways to answer this, and I don't want to sort of misspeak, so I'll try to answer it slowly. But the first thing is that we've known this for even when it comes to forget about whether or not the game is successful. Even when it comes to maintaining a game once it goes live. Even if it's very successful, that can also be hard. All of a sudden, you have way more users than you expected, and there's management of all these different collections that you've launched. Not to mind just the live ops of the game itself. And so we've seen a lot of games out there, and I'm also not throwing shade at any one project, but yeah, we've definitely seen games that the tools that they're using to get them to go live are good, and then once they're off the cliff, it's really difficult. And so, as I say, even if the game is successful, it can still be difficult to maintain. So on a practical level, we're doing a lot in terms of live op support as part of the plan, which is not something that we've seen for other projects out there. So we really do want to make the game successful even post launch. But as for the question of whether projects sort of their own volition just decide to close up shop because it didn't go as well as they expected. I think that's something that we will avoid more, in that it's not that every project that comes and works with us. We think that loads of the projects that are coming to work with us are very high quality, and are being built by individuals that are going to see these games through, even if there are some difficult patches, and so that's important to us. We're talking to projects that do genuinely interest us, but we're also not going to sort of endorse and really put out there every project that happens to use our API and leverage the awesome tech that we built. So I think being careful about that, because obviously our brand already today, in only a year's time, holds some weight, and certainly once we get some flagship titles out there, like, our opinion on these titles will hold some serious weight, and so I think just being careful as a project about which partner projects are launching on Myria, and which ones are Myria projects, not built by Myria, but we really want to try to push. I think that potentially limits the downside of getting really into a game and then it blows up, is because we're going to be careful about which games we really try to push forward. But then, of course, there's this risk exists even, of course, in Web 2 space also. If a game is junk and it's an online game, and the indie developer that put it together doesn't want to deal with it anymore, it's that's still a risk in Web 2. But we do want to, by supporting projects and live ops and the like, and sort of like enterprise grade software for live systems, which all of us have had experience building. We want to help make sure that it's possible to continue, that it's easy to continue, and then we're only going to really get behind projects as a team ourselves, that we think have a very high success or high likelihood of success and of continuing. So that was a very long-winded answer, but I hope it helps a lot, because it's something that we do think about a lot.
All right, thanks. Alex is back again. Hopefully you can hear us this time, and we'll end after Alex's questions. So thanks, everyone, for being here and taking part. And obviously, if you have any other questions or any concerns, or you want to chat with me or chat with the team, you only have to go onto the social media channels, and you can don't listen to people asking you for money on any channels, but definitely if they're giving you information or you have questions, always that's the place to go. And just make sure there's that star on the Telegram groups or in Discord beside their name, so you know you're talking to actually someone in position of power, because we have seen an uptick in people getting scammed on Discord and on Telegram. So just would like to warn everyone about that, because there are always new people coming in the space and they just don't know any better. And so I like to try to help the community protect themselves. All right, Alex, let's get you in here, and we'll end off after your question. So you can unmute yourself, Alex, and then you can ask a question. It should work. Seems there's still some technical difficulties there.
Okay, what about now? Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Good.
Yeah, we can hear you. Good stuff.
Oh, perfect. Amazing. Good morning, guys. Very excited for Myria and the future that it holds as well. Brendan, I got two sets of questions that hopefully you can answer for me. The first one is, are there any current or future partnerships with any Web 2 gaming studios? And the second question is, proportionally from all the games that Myria has onboarded already, how many will be utilizing the Myria token, and what will be the utility of it?
Yeah, so I might need to, both great questions, by the way, and like everyone else, I'm happy you decided to listen in. I might need you to repeat the second one, because I had some background noise for a second, but I'll answer the first one first, and then I'll maybe ask you to jump in on and clarify the second just quickly. But so yes, I don't want to speak to the exact numbers, but there are definitely studios that we have that have built Web 2 games before and are now trying their hand in Web 3. Unfortunately, some of the names that we're most excited about aren't public at the moment and may not be for some time. But the answer is definitely yes, and we hope at some stage we'll be able to announce some names that we expect some people would recognize. But we've seen in fact really good traction with Web2 studios in general, just because of the ease of moving over isn't learn a smart contract language. It's as I say, integrate with an API. But then aside from just Web2, which is of course important, we've also onboarded some pretty big Web3 games that have already done well elsewhere. So I don't know if you've heard of the game Dragonary, but they were so they were quite big on BSC, and they've decided to migrate completely to Myria. So it's both the Web2 guys moving into Web3, but it's also Web3 guys that have had difficulties elsewhere and just want a simpler experience doing what they've already done and done successfully, but they want to do it more easily. And so we think Dragonary is a pretty good example of that. So, but just really quickly, just repeat your second question.
Yeah, great. Thank you for the first one. The second one is, out of the 270 plus games that Myria has onboarded already, how many of them proportionally from your knowledge will be utilizing the Myria token, and what will be the utility of it?
Oh yeah, great question. So I wish I had my our BD guy on the call, because I don't look up from the code to the partners as much as I would like. But in terms of percentage, I don't want to venture to guess. But I can say that the use cases, so I'll say that it's a large portion of them. It is a large portion of them, but we have to remember also that quite a few of those games are still quite early as well. So they know they're building on Myria. They know they're going to use the token in some capacity because they're building on Myria. But exactly what they'll be using it for is sort of in a lot of game development life cycles, sort of like the last 10 or maybe even 5% of game development. So they're early, and as they get closer, we'll start to see more ideas. But yeah, percentage-wise, I don't know. But the use cases are definitely varied, and as I said before, we've already seen or had ideas at least thrown at us that are interesting and probably wouldn't have been use cases we would have thought for it. So in terms of like in-game use of the token as well, which we would expect it to have like a dedicated token, but some projects are considering just using Myria straight up for that. So we would think that would be really cool.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Coach K. Well done, guys.
Cheers. Yeah,
thank you,
Myria's team and Brendan, everyone, for coming out today. It is recorded. I recorded this session, so if you're sleeping, because I know some people in the US might be, you can always listen to this later. So thanks again for all your time, and don't forget to also follow Myria on all their channels. Also follow the Coach K channels, and we'll see you guys again soon. We'll do this as more updates come out from Myria, and maybe as more games come out, to get a little bit of your feedback as well and engage with the community a little bit more. So thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks everyone who listened in.
Cheers, everyone. Have yourself a great day, evening, night, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And I'll speak to you guys later.